Hey, you guys, it is Crystal Lopez here from crystalandcomp.com. How are you doing? I hope you're having an awesome day. All right, I'm going to show you this delicious it's a pesto pasta salad that is the perfect side dish, or add a protein to it like shredded chicken and make it a meal. It is served cold. It is delicious. I've been making it for years and years and years and years. It is so good. So start with your bow tie pasta. If you wanted to do a different pasta, like maybe a penne, you could do that, but you do want to use a bigger noodle. I wouldn't use like small shells or anything like that. So I am doing double the pasta. I'm making this to take to a MOPS meeting. It's great for potlucks. It's great for picnics. It's great for a side dish. It is great for a main dish, whatever you want to do. Okay. All right. So I'm gathering up all of my supplies. I've got we've got mozzarella cheese in the block. You do want to buy it in a block. You do not want shredded. We've got our pesto sauce, and we have pine nuts. And then we've got the pasta that's on the stove. And then if you want to add a protein like shredded chicken, you can. So I am using my amazing, I love those bendable chopping pads. I love them. And these particular ones, I've got two sets. One just set where everyone's a different color. You can use the front or the back. The second set, everyone's a different color, but the back side has like skid proof on it. And I bought them last year when we were on our beach vacation, and I love them. Really, really awesome. So I pulled out that other clear bowl, which is a Pioneer Woman bowl that my mom bought me for Christmas a few years ago, but I decided to use this vintage Pyrex bowl that my sister-in-law gave me. She gave me a whole set probably 8 years ago. I love them. I don't know why I decided to still show you this bowl because I'm not using it, but I recorded this like back in the spring. So we're going through all the old content and getting it out. You guys need to see this stuff, right? So if you want the printable version of this recipe, hop over to crystalandcomp.com. You can either do a search for pesto pasta, or I will leave a link to the recipe in the description and in the pinned comments. So once you get to the recipe, you can read the whole recipe if you want. I would love that. Or click jump to recipe, and it'll take you down to the recipe, and then click print. Print this out, put it in your recipe binder so that you have it, so that you can always reference back to it, especially when you're doing your meal planning and you're trying to figure out what in the world can I take to a potluck, or what in the world can I make for dinner tonight, or what can I make as a side. There you go. It's right there. Okay. Also, by printing the recipes, it gives you an option to leave notes for any modifications that you make. So let's say that you make this and you decide that you want to use pepper jack cheese instead. Make a note of that, and then come back and make a note that says, we loved it this way. We won't do it again this way. This was not a great idea. This was excellent. Added a, punch of spice, whatever. I do want to say that it is important that you do use block cheese and cut it into squares like this. Dice it into chunks or little blocks. You don't want to use shredded cheese for this recipe. You want a big piece of cheese with your pasta, okay? Just trust me here. It's going to be good. You don't want the cheese just getting all mixed in. So cut up that cheese just like this, and we're going to add it to the pasta. The pasta is cooking. We like to cook it for 8 to 9 minutes here. And for this particular recipe, when it's done, we're actually going to rinse it in cold, cold water so that the pasta gets cold, because when we combine the pasta with the cheese, I don't want the cheese melting. So we're going to rinse it in cold water so that we don't have to worry about that. Okay. I always like to test a piece of pasta before I drain it. Everybody likes their pasta different. If you want it more al dente, adjust the cook time. However you want it, that's how you should do it. Okay. So I've got my strainer. We're going to strain. This is a big, huge honkin' strainer that my mother-in-law gave me. It is theirs from way back in the mid-'80s when they owned a pizza place here in San Antonio. That was their strainer, she tells me. The story goes. So I've got stuff, so many things that are old or have very special meaning to me in my kitchen. There's the pasta. We're going to dump it. So while I'm doing that, you see that red comb? That's a pasta comb. Got it years ago. I used to sell Tupperware, believe it or not, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I sold Tupperware. I loved it. And that was a freebie that we would give hostesses or people that would book a party or something. I don't remember. But I love that thing. And I would love to find more of them. I've never seen anything like it before. I've never seen a brand that's made one. There's versions of like a ladle spoon type thing that has little big comb pieces on it that you would use with pasta. But it doesn't work as well as this. This thing is awesome, but it's flimsy, and I really need to. There's our pasta all done. I would love to find one that's a little sturdier, and just have a backup because I love that thing, especially with fettuccine or spaghetti noodles. When you want to make sure they're not sticking together after you've cooked them and you've drained them, I will cook and strain, and then I will add olive oil and maybe a little butter, and then I take that comb and just run it through. I cook like 4 pounds of spaghetti pasta at a time because when I make spaghetti, I'm making it for 20 people. So I will take that comb and just run it through it over and over, like until I make sure that none of the pasta pieces are stuck together. All right, so we're going to add our pesto to the recipe, and I have 2 jars there, but I'm just going to use one. I had gotten these on a walmart.com order. Typically when I buy my pesto, I buy it in bulk, so it's like a big, huge jar. So you may be wondering, okay, what else could I do with pesto if I buy it in bulk after I make this recipe? So here are some other things that you could do with your pesto. You could put it over chicken and then either cook it on a sheet pan in your oven, or put it over chicken and cook it in the slow cooker all day. It will be amazing. Serve it over rice, serve it shredded on top of a salad, serve it however you want. It's so good. You can take ground beef or ground turkey and mix it, like for every pound, mix a cup of pesto, form it into a loaf and cook it as a meatloaf. Phenomenal. Add some ketchup on top if you want. So good. I love it. We love it. You could use it in lieu of pizza sauce on a pizza. I mean, that's nothing new, but I think we forget that it's an option. What else? What else do I do with pesto? Pesto is basil, olive oil, and pine nuts. If you don't like basil, you're not going to like pesto. So if you don't like basil, you want to skip this recipe. Yeah, I mean, really the possibilities are endless. You can use pesto for so many things. It is delicious. It is so, so good. So now we're going to add our blocks of mozzarella cheese. There is that bendable cutting board in action. Goodness, those things are amazing to have. Get you some if you don't have some. We're going to mix this up really, really well and get everything well combined. Make sure that all of the noodles are perfectly coated with the pesto sauce, and make sure that we've mixed up those cubes of mozzarella so that every bite has a nice piece of cheese. It's so good, guys. I promise you this is amazing. And then once we get this all well combined, we are going to add our pine nuts. It's excellent. You're going to love it. It's so good. If you don't want to do the pine nuts, you don't have to. Add as little or as many as you want. I like a lot. They're good. They're yummy. All right. And then you're going to cover it in foil and refrigerate it. You want to serve this cold. Even if it has the cooked meat in it, like a rotisserie chicken that you shred, you still want to serve it cold. My mother-in-law, I've taken some to her before when I had a bunch that I made up, and she heated it up and she said it was great, but it's really not intended to be heated because you want those cheese pieces to stay in blocks. Okay. What else do you need to know about this recipe? Oh, it's a great recipe to like make it up and put it into little containers. And if you have a busy after school life, like you're running to soccer practice, baseball practice, gymnastics, whatever, and you're not getting home till 8 o'clock at night, and it's, you're tired of eating that late, make a whole thing of this up and then put it into little individual containers. Make sure they're nice and cold, and then before you leave to go run and do all of your soccer, baseball, gymnastics, whatever all that stuff is that you're doing, grab these, put them in the car with you. The kids can eat them while you're driving, or they can eat them before practice starts, right after practice is over, or if you've got one kid that's in practice and the rest of the kids, are having to sit for an hour, they can be eating their dinner. Serve it cold. It's absolutely delicious. Honestly, this solves a problem for busy weeknights where you don't want to eat out, you don't want to spend money on drive-through, you don't want to eat unhealthy food. Do this. It's awesome. Okay? All right. I hope that you make it. Always taste test it. I always taste test before I put it in the fridge. Like, I want to make sure it's perfect. It makes a great lunch. It makes a great side. It makes a great all-in-one meal if you add a protein. Okay? All right, guys. I hope that you give it a try, and I hope that you love it if you do.
So tell me what you want me to do. Like I do, like I do, like I do. take that